Tonight, South Australian farmers welcome the upcoming end of the ban on genetically modified crops and the clean-up of Port Augusta's Bird Lake to finally get underway.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with John Hunt begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Mid-North grain growers are welcoming the end of a ban on growing genetically modified crops in South Australia. A deal was reached between the government and the opposition, with locals describing it as a game changer.
An uphill battle finally coming to an end. A surprise bipartisan deal in state parliament has given genetically modified crops the green light.
It gives choice. And farmers choose whether they want to grow GMs or not, and I think that's always been one of my philosophies. And the other one, it opens the world of research in South Australia.
The bill is set to pass the upper house by next week, giving eager farmers the opportunity to begin planting for next season's crops.
Some farmers have been frustrated for nearly 16 years under a moratorium while they look across the borders.
We're able to consume genetically modified food in South Australia, but we're not allowed to grow it, and that's been the situation for all that time. How can we actually consume something but be restricted from growing it?
Local councils can still have their say. The agreement gives members 6 months to apply to remain GM-free. However, the minister will make the final decision. The opposition pleads with this agreement.
Non-GM status, that recommendation then goes to the advisory committee.
Experts say grain growers aren't the only primary producers set to benefit, with a boost in South Australia's agriculture research.
Parts of science suggest that there's a movement to plant-based industries and plant-based foods. So I don't have any doubt that that's where the whole world is heading.
Because we were missing out in a number of ways when it came to research dollars, and they were going to other states because of the moratorium here in South Australia.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A 27-year-old man will face court following a police chase in Kadina early this morning. Just after midnight, police attempted to stop a vehicle when the car sped away on Martin Terrace. It later came to a stop on Laver Street, where patrols arrested the driver. Police allege the Old Nollunga man recorded a blood alcohol reading of 0.185. He was charged with a raft of offences, including drink driving and failing to stop for police. A 43-year-old man has lost his car and licence after refusing a breath test in Whyalla yesterday. Police were called to Raw Street around 1 in the afternoon after reports of a man in an orange sedan causing a disturbance. The driver eventually did submit to a test, returning a positive result. 2 children under the age of 10 were also in the car. He was charged with numerous offences and will appear in court at a later date. Works will be commencing on Port Augusta's Bird Lake remediation at the start of next week. It's been a project in negotiation for numerous years and is expected to be completed by the end of the year.
Bird Lake is an icon of Port Augusta for all the wrong reasons. Without flooding from the old power station, the site has dried up, creating an unpleasant smell.
It creates a terrible stench that does cover the whole town along some kilometres away and has for years. So through the initiative, they've met with a certain company and we've come up with an idea where we can surround the outer portion where the issue is with some soil.
Council and CU River Port Australia has struck a deal. The company will excavate the soil and move it to the edge of the lake.
It's very good that they've agreed to provide us that soil, because if we didn't have that, we wouldn't know where we get it from.
A $3.2 million state government funding package was awarded to council back in 2018. The local MP welcomes the beginning of work.
We've just been waiting for the council to determine it was the right time to start the project, and I'm very pleased that that's now happened.
The Mayor is hoping the project will not only help the smell.
What it can do is gives an opportunity to build into our beautification process we're trying to do. So hopefully when people enter this side of our town in the future, they'll see some beautiful vegetation.
The project is expected to create around 20 jobs.
Through this process, we have promoted local employment, so hopefully they'll use the local subcontractors and local employment to get the job done.
Laura Milovanovic, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Major upgrades to the Lincoln Highway have begun today in a bid to improve safety along the notorious stretch of road. The multi-million-dollar development follows the closure of the region's railway last year.
As the trains moved on, the trucks rolled in. Highways saw a spike in freight movement, which saw some roads start to crumble, raising concerns for driver safety.
Where roads in particular get narrow, that means trucks tend to dip a wheel off the bitumen because they've got to get past each other. Every time they dip a wheel off the bitumen gets narrower.
Following the railway's closure last year, the government guaranteed an overhaul of road development, pledging $25 million in upgrades.
We need to make sure that the road network is up to speed to carry those loads. Not always increased loads, but in different directions and to different destinations.
Work has now begun on improving a 16-kilometre stretch of the Lincoln Highway.
We are widening and re-shouldering the road basically through the Bird's Eye Highway down into Cow and out to the Lucky Bay turnoff.
It's hoped Teaport's new export hub at Lucky Bay, combined with road upgrades, will provide better safety for drivers and avoid a repeat of last year's horror road toll.
The roads are part of the equation. Driver behaviour is another significant part of the equation, and I just urge people to always drive like they've got their kids in the car and everybody else has got their kids in the car with them, and let's make sure everybody gets there safely.
The upgrades are expected to be completed by June, just in time for harvest. Nathan Rector, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, Broken Hill Council to reopen the local waste facility. And Port Lincoln families receive funding for new school equipment. Welcome back. Broken Hill locals can now access the city's waste facility after it being closed due to coronavirus. The tip has reopened to the public, but it will be operating with reduced hours.
Open once again for all your waste disposal needs. At the start of the month, Broken Hill City Council had made the decision to close the city's dump, citing coronavirus concerns.
You could only travel for essential travel. It wasn't clear what that essential travel was in covering waste, but at that time the General Manager made the decision that it was better to be safe.
However, after 2 weeks, the council has decided to reopen the facility, albeit with different operating hours.
It is actually open from Monday to Saturday, and I think it's from 8 o'clock to 1 p.m. during the week.
The dump's weekend hours have received some criticism though. 9 to midday on Saturday, closed Sundays.
They should be at least opened on the weekend because the weekend's the most important days for the community to use, not during the week when there's still a good percentage of the people in Broken Hill that are working.
The Mayor says she's sure the idea of introducing Sunday operating hours is on the General Manager's radar, but ultimately it will come down to whether staff are available. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Port Pirie Council is encouraging residents to download the COVID Safe app, which rolled out this week across Australia. Mayor Leon Stevens says the more residents that use this software, the sooner restrictions can be lifted across the region.
We're all a little bit concerned that it's a big brother watching over us, this old mate. It's not the case. This app has been designed around keeping you safe. If somebody's within cooee of you that has had a reported case against them, you will be notified.
More information on this app can be found online. While a council's $14 million roadworks renewal program is underway, with ceiling being laid across the town. The 3-year upgrade will result in almost 45 kilometres of works over 40 different roads. Sophia Contagonis has more.
Fresh asphalt has been laid across multiple roads in Whyalla, much like this, as Council's road sealing program continues to roll out. Boral's spray sealing crew have been working hard on the project, completing 22 sections of roads, including 1.5 kilometres of Gulfview Drive.
They're split into 2 crews, one's an asphalt crew and then a spray seal crew.
With the asphalt almost complete, the spray seal crew are busy finishing off the brand new surfaces.
Depending on the road and the amount of use it gets will determine what type of treatment it gets. But yeah, it's basically just a coat of emulsion with a stone sprayed over the top.
Council constantly updating locals online for those eager to bypass the roadworks.
Sending out a lot of media posts, media releases on our council's Facebook page on which list of roads are getting done at what time.
And although they might not look the part right now, council says the result will be worth the wait.
Be patient. These spray seals might not look $1 million to start off with, but they take a bit of time to embed in.
The road development will be underway until early May, with council set to upgrade footpaths next. Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
More than $19,000 has been handed out to families across the Eyre Peninsula to help buy essential school equipment. It's the 11th consecutive year the Eyre Peninsula Community Foundation has undertaken this task.
For many families, it's an expensive time of the year. The back-to-school buys putting a financial pinch on the hip pocket. The Eyre Peninsula Community Foundation helping ease the burden.
This year, given out support of 22 schools, with $19,000 worth of $50 vouchers.
The money helping to open the door for families in need and pay for basic items like school bags, stationery and clothes.
That ability to be able to have those nice new things to be able to bring to school and show off and also have the resources to be able to be successful at school.
Educators say it's important for students to have the right tools for the job and can heavily impact on their learning.
Having these vouchers and being able to feel good about yourself coming to school is a positive thing and having positive headset walking into the classroom.
In partnership with Bendigo Bank and the Rural and Regional Renewal Foundation, the group has handed back more than $230,000 over 11 years.
We probably have about 50 students involved in it and connecting with those vouchers.
Despite the foundation's effort, they say it's only reaching the tip of the iceberg, desperately calling for community donations. The FRRR pledging to double every dollar it receives.
So there's an opportunity to support more students in their own schools.
Your well-being and how you feel about yourself is really important for your learning.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us. Local residents urged to get in early for flowers this Mother's Day. And we meet the Port Augusta man, responsible for playing the last post on Anzac Day. Broken Hill was hit by a howling midday dust storm today, plunging the city into darkness. The storm rolled in just before lunchtime, covering the mining town in an orange and brown haze. Locals rushing to the top of the line of the load to snap a pic of the rare phenomenon. The dust storm lasted for about 15 minutes, long enough to dirty any clean cars. The city was later hit by an afternoon thunderstorm, which partially flooded streets. While businesses are gearing up for Mother's Day, urging locals to get their gifts organised early this year. With the flow-on effect from the coronavirus impacting usual day-to-day operations, they say it's taking longer to receive stock.
A busy day at work. This florist already preparing her list of pre-Mother's Day orders.
We are asking that everyone's getting their orders in beforehand because, we just think this year will be a sellout, especially with what's already come in.
With a short supply and a heavy demand due to coronavirus, she's urging locals to get in quick.
The availability of what we'd call our normal supply, that's sort of been up and down, so every day is a bit of a gamble.
This local Whyalla jeweller also feeling the strain, encouraging residents to support local businesses.
Shop locally and help keep the money in the town and help keep a local person like me in a job.
Both businesses offering online options for those wanting to stay home and make a purchase.
If you give us a call, explain what you like, we have a catalogue out at the moment, we will sort that out for you over the phone. Gift wrapper and deliver it to you.
We've got our own website that people can go on and they can have a look at the options and place the orders on there, or they can call us.
And what a better way to treat Mum with some flowers or diamonds on her special day.
With all this self-isolation and that, it would be lovely to just get Mum something a little extra special this Mother's Day.
Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Member for Grey Roan Ramsey says family daycare providers have not been overlooked amid the coronavirus crisis. He says operators are being treated the same as daycare centres, receiving the same subsidy.
Providers who are normally on their own, they will be able to register as sole traders, and they received the $1,500 a fortnight as well.
Those operating without an ABN can also register. Only 8 people filled Port Augusta's Gladstone Square for this year's dawn service due to the impact of coronavirus. Those in attendance watched a rousing rendition of The Last Post from a local resident passionate about his role.
It was one of his smaller crowds, but for Mick Bunder, playing his bugle was just as important. Taking part this year, he was dressed in a different type of uniform.
Well, the reason I went in uniform was I was actually on call, so I was in the middle of my on-call rotation, which means I've got to be available as the second drop on night shift or the second available ambulance.
Frontline services is something he's familiar with.
I also do a bit of stuff with the fire service as well, so yeah, a little bit busy on some occasions, a little bit of time to juggle stuff around, but yeah, we get it done. So it's just part of something I've done for a long, long time, and with a lot of support from a lot of good people, so able to keep doing it.
This wasn't Mick's first time playing on Anzac Day, beginning in 1977 at age 14.
I became the unit bugler with my mate. We both aged out at 19, and he's no longer in Port Augusta, but I am, and I'm still able to put something into a worthy cause, and they're still happy to have me, so I'm still there.
And says he'll play The Last Post for as long as he can.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something I enjoy. It's something I want to do. Something RSL are happy to have me do, and I'm happy to continue it for as long as they think it's a worthy thing to do.
Laura Milovanovic, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. We check the latest fuel prices across the region, and Britt will have the latest weather forecast. Hello again. Wilmington residents gathered this week, celebrating the 92nd birthday of resident Max Lee. Cars queued up along the terrace to drive past and get a glimpse of the birthday boy. He welcomed the surprise, greeting his fellow community members.
Happy birthday! Leave you to it, mate. Cheers.
Wilmington residents say the coronavirus will not dampen their community spirit, wishing Max the happiest of birthdays. A lovely gesture. Hope it was a good birthday, Max. Time for a look at how things are shaping up at the Bowser. Here's Patrick Reinke with Fuel Watch.
Petrol prices have continued to decrease over the past 7 days. If you're driving for essential reasons, now is a good time to fill up. Starting with unleaded, and it's another week of green across the board. Port Lincoln remains one of the cheapest places, falling from $1.08 last week to $1.04 this week. Port Pirie is a cent more after dropping by 5 cents. Port Augusta is still the most expensive in the Gulf. Prices are tumbling, now only paying around $1.14, 3 cents more than Whyalla. Kadina has continued its low average down to just 91 cents. Broken Hill is the most expensive on the board by a long way. The Silver City hovering around $1.22 a litre. After a sudden spike last week, Adelaide motorists have seen a sharp 20-cent drop. They're now paying 84 cents. Turning over to diesel now, and it's down, prices are down. Whyalla and Port Augusta are the big movers this week, both falling to $1.17. Port Lincoln doing a little bit better, while Kadina drivers are paying a very economical $1.09. Port Pirie has experienced a small change, but it still remains as the most expensive in the Spencer Gulf, $1.23. Broken Hill paying the most of all at $1.26. Adelaide doing quite well after a 5-cent reduction, $1.13. Finishing off with a quick look at Autogas, and only 3 townships have seen a change. Port Pirie has ticked down by about a cent to 83 a litre. Kadina has fallen to 91. Adelaide is still doing very well at 72 cents. Elsewhere, everything remains the same. Port Lincoln on 92, Whyalla 93, Port Augusta 89, and Broken Hill on 85. Now remember that these prices are the regional averages and they do not reflect any one particular outlet. And if you do find a spot that does sell unleaded, auto gas or diesel for cheaper, be sure to let us know on our Facebook page.
And with the latest on what's happening in the weather, here's Britt.
Thanks, John, and good evening. A cold front brought maximums in the mid-teens across the region, aside from Broken Hill, where it reached 24. 17 was the top at Port Augusta, Whyalla and Port Pirie, 14 at Woodna, Kadina and Port Lincoln. From the satellite, we can see that cold front and associated trough crossing South Australia. So what does that mean for tomorrow? Well, on the Gulf waters, westerly winds at 15 to 20 knots turning southwest in the afternoon, with seas between 1 and 1.5 metres. Showers and winds easing at Port Lincoln, looking at a top of 17, Cleve morning showers and 15, Woodna 16. 16 the high at Whyalla, Port Augusta and Kadina, all with showers expected. Port Pirie showers and 15, a top of 11 at Clare. Broken Hill remaining dry but cool with a partly cloudy top of 14. And the wet weather is not looking to ease, with showers expected about the region on Friday, maximums in the late teens. Partly cloudy at Broken Hill on Saturday, elsewhere more showers expected. And Sunday, showers about the eastern and lower Eyre Peninsula, but looking fine and partly cloudy about other forecast districts. And with that, John, it's back to you.
Thanks, Britt. And that's the local news this Wednesday evening. On behalf of the team, thanks for your company. I'll have updates later, and we'll be back again at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. Have a great evening. Good night.